Jiho almost misses his stop. He's too busy staring at the glowing red number floating above the man sitting across from him on the train. 12%. It hovers gently above the stranger's head like a hologram. Jiho blinks. The number doesn't disappear. He rubs his eyes. Still there. The train rattles forward. Sunlight flickering through the windows. Commuters swaying with the motion. And everywhere he looks. Numbers. The woman gripping the overhead strap. 3%. The high school student beside her. 0%. A guy in a business suit scrolling on his phone. 7%. Jiho's heart pounds. What? He shifts slightly in his seat. The man across from him glances up from his phone. The number above his head flickers. 12% to 15%. Jiho freezes. The man's eyes linger for half a second longer than necessary. The number jumps again. 18%. Jiho immediately looks away. The number drops. 18% to 10% to 6%. His breath catches. No way. No, no, no. This has to be a dream. He subtly pulls out his phone, switching to the selfie camera. No numbers above his own head, only other people's. A cold realization creeps up his spine. These aren't random numbers. They're reacting to him. The train doors slide open at his stop. Jiho stumbles out onto the platform, heart racing, convinced he's either hallucinating or finally losing his mind. By the time he reaches the office, he's sweating. The lobby doors slide open. Numbers everywhere. Receptionist, 5%. Security guard, 2%. Intern from marketing passing by, 17%. Jiho nearly trips over nothing. Morning, Jiho, the intern chirps brightly. The number flickers, 17% to 21%. Jiho gives a stiff nod and quickly walks away. Okay, stay calm. Maybe it's stress, lack of sleep, a brain glitch. He steps into the elevator. His best friend Min-jae is already inside. Why do you look like you saw a ghost? Min-jae asks. Jiho forces a laugh, and then he looks up. 41%. His stomach drops. Min-jae, Jiho says slowly. Hypothetically, if someone told you they were seeing numbers above people's heads, I'd tell them to take a vacation. The elevator dings. The doors open. Jiho walks straight into his department floor. Coworker near the printer. 8%. Another staff member at the coffee machine. 3%. It's consistent. It's real. And it's all directed at him. His pulse pounds in his ears as he enters the conference room for the morning executive meeting. He takes his usual seat near the end of the long table, trying to steady his breathing. Then the doors open. Kang Taehyun walks in. Tall, impeccably dressed, expression unreadable as ever. The air in the room shifts immediately. Jiho swallows. 3 years? 3 years since that night. He shouldn't look. He already knows what it'll say. Probably 0. Probably nothing. Still, his eyes lift. Above Kang Taehyun's head, there is no number. Instead, error. The word flashes in red. It glitches violently, distorts, flickers. Jiho's breath stutters. The room feels too small, too loud. The red letters flash again. Error. As if sensing the stare, Taehyun's gaze shifts. Their eyes meet. Sharp, direct, unreadable. Silence stretches. Is there something you'd like to say, Assistant Jiho? The red word pulses once more above his head. Error. Jiho doesn't sleep that night. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees it. Error. Glitching. Red. Violent. Everyone else had numbers. Everyone else made sense. But Kang Taehyun didn't. The next morning, Jiho decides he needs proof. If this is a hallucination, it should be inconsistent. If it's real, then it should respond. The test begins small. He stops by the cafe downstairs before work. The barista smiles politely. Above her head, 4%. Good morning, Jiho says, deliberately holding eye contact for a few seconds longer than usual. The number flickers. 4% to 9% to 12%. Jiho's stomach drops. He looks away quickly. The number decreases. 12% to 6%. His pulse quickens. Okay, cause and effect. At the office, he tries again. The marketing intern waves enthusiastically. Jiho, did you finish the report? Above his head, 17%. Jiho smiles gently. Yeah, I'll send it over. The intern's ears turn slightly red. The number climbs. 17% to 23% to 29%. Jiho immediately turns back to his computer. The number slowly drops. 29% to 21%. It's real. It reacts to tone, attention, warmth. He grips his desk. This isn't random. This is measuring romantic interest toward him. His breathing grows shallow, which means Minja's 41% yesterday wasn't a joke. Jiho doesn't know how he feels about that. By noon, he's collected enough data to be certain. Politeness increases it. Physical proximity increases it. Sustained eye contact increases it faster. Coldness lowers it. Rejection drops it sharply. Everything behaves logically. Everything. Except one person. Jiho stares at the frosted glass walls of the CEO's office across the floor. He shouldn't. He knows he shouldn't. But curiosity claws at him. He gathers a stack of documents he doesn't need and walks toward the office. Each step feels heavier. He knocks. Come in. Taehyun's voice is calm, controlled. Always controlled. Jiho steps inside. The door closes behind him with a soft click. And immediately, error. It flashes above Taehyun's head. But this time, it flickers faster, almost violently. Jiho's breath catches. He steps closer to the desk. The red letters distort. EROR. They blur. For a split second, the word glitches. And underneath, Jiho swears he sees numbers trying to form, but they're scrambled, unstable, unreadable. Taehyun looks up from the file he's reviewing. Their eyes lock. The error pulses sharply. What is it? Taehyun asks. Professional, neutral. Jiho forces his voice steady. The quarterly projections you requested. He places the papers down. Their fingers brush. The world tilts. The error flashes white. For a heartbeat, the red vanishes. And something almost appears. Not 0%. Not blank. Something high. Something overwhelming. Then, it snaps back. Error. Taehyun's jaw tightens slightly. A tiny crack in his composure. Is there something wrong, Assistant Jiho? Jiho realizes he's staring again. Too long. Too intensely. The red word flickers harder. Like it's malfunctioning. Like it can't handle him being this close. Jiho swallows. No, sir. But his heart is racing. Because now he knows. The system isn't broken. It's struggling. And it's only struggling. With Kang Taehyun. Jiho tries to focus on his work. But it's impossible. Every glance. Every movement in the office pulls his eyes back to the CEO's office. He knows he shouldn't look. He knows he shouldn't think about it. Yet curiosity claws at him relentlessly. It doesn't help that the new department manager, Hyunsu, has decided to make Jiho his personal target. Hey, Jiho, Hyunsu calls from across the floor, leaning casually against the cubicle wall. Want to grab lunch later? I've got a great sushi place in mind. Jiho forces a smile. Maybe. He steps back and catches sight of the number above Hyunsu's head. 45%. Jiho freezes. His pulse spikes. It jumps to 56% as he awkwardly nods. His stomach twists. That can't be normal. He glances toward the CEO's office. Error. The word flashes violently red. Jiho flinches. It's almost aware. Hyunsu smirks, obviously oblivious to what he's doing. You're quiet today. Did I scare you? Jiho nods numbly, unsure if he's sweating from embarrassment, anxiety, or something else entirely. By mid-afternoon, the numbers on the floor start causing chaos in Jiho's brain. Even Min-jae passes by with his usual grin. 41% to 45%. The best friend's number rises slightly when he waves, and Jiho can feel his chest tighten. He looks back at Taehyun. Error. The letters flicker again, faster this time. Jiho swallows hard, aware that his heart is pounding in rhythm with the flashing red word. Lunch break comes. Jiho tries to get some distance, but Hyunsu corners him in the kitchenette. So, sushi, it's a great chance to chat outside the office, Hyunsu says. Leaning closer, Jiho forces a polite smile, trying to step aside. His eyes flick to the CEO's office just beyond the glass walls. Error. The word glitches violently, almost shaking in place. Jiho feels it like a punch to the chest. Something about the CEO's reaction, though subtle, barely noticeable, sends a chill down his spine. Hyunsu grins at Jiho's distracted expression. Hey, are you okay? You look tense. Jiho nods, fumbling with his coffee cup. When Hyunsu turns away for a moment, Jiho risks a peek at Taehyun again. The error word pulses sharply. Jiho blinks. It's like the system is warning him. Warning him about what? The thought makes his heart thump harder. Because one thing is certain. No one else makes the meter behave like this. No one. And the longer he stays in the office, the more he realizes he's not just curious anymore. He's obsessed. Obsessed with the red glitching word. Obsessed with the man behind it. Obsessed with the unmeasurable. Error. The letters flash violently one last time before lunch ends. Jiho clenches his fists, knowing that today was only the beginning. Jiho didn't expect to be staying late at the office tonight. The fluorescent lights hum overhead as he types furiously, double-checking the quarterly reports. Every tap of the keyboard feels like it echoes in the empty office. He glances up. Across the floor, the CEO's office door is still open. Kang Taehyun sits behind his immaculate desk, reviewing files as usual. Jiho tries to focus. He really does. But he can't. The air above Taehyun's head pulses faintly, as if aware that Jiho is watching. A soft ping from his computer pulls Jiho's attention. Another spreadsheet error. He sighs and starts fixing it. But the floor is quiet except for the hum of the AC. Then a voice cuts through. Assistant Jiho. He freezes. Taehyun steps out of his office, holding a folder. The room suddenly feels smaller, the air heavier. You'll need to finish this report with me, Taehyun says, his tone calm, unyielding. Overtime. Jiho swallows. Yes, sir. The words feel strange in his mouth, not because he's disobedient, because he's terrified. He follows Taehyun to the large conference table in the middle of the office. Chairs creak as they sit opposite each other. The space between them is close, closer than it should be. Jiho's heart pounds. He risks a glance at the CEO. Error. The word pulses violently red, glitching faster than ever before. He looks down at the spreadsheet, trying to appear focused, but his fingers tremble. Minutes pass. Words are exchanged professionally. Numbers discussed, formulas corrected, then their hands brush. A soft, accidental contact as Jiho slides a folder across the table. The world tilts. Error flashes white. For a split second, Jiho thinks he sees something else. A number, fleeting, unreadable, impossible to grasp. Then the red letters return. He can't breathe normally. Taehyun doesn't pull back. His gaze is steady, calm, but something in it makes Jiho's chest tighten. He tries to refocus on the work, calculations, figures, anything, but the error pulses again. Almost in time with his own heartbeat, Jiho swallows hard, gripping the edge of the table. Assistant Jiho, Taehyun says suddenly, voice low, measured, dangerous in a way that makes the hairs on Jiho's arms rise. Jiho looks up, meeting the calm intensity of those dark eyes. I suggest you stay alert, Taehyun adds, almost as if reading his thoughts. Jiho's throat goes dry, because he knows. The love meter isn't broken, it's only overwhelmed. By Taehyun, by him, and the closer Jiho gets, the more unstable it becomes. Tonight, he realizes, isn't just about finishing the report. It's about surviving the pull of the unmeasurable. Error. It flashes one last time before the room falls silent again. And Jiho knows, deep down, that he's trapped. Trapped by numbers he can't read, and a man he can't resist. Jiho doesn't sleep much that night. Memories creep in uninvited, haunting him more than the flashing red error ever could. 3 years ago, he remembers the night like it was yesterday. Rain tapping against the glass. A dimly lit cafe. And him, completely reckless, completely honest, completely drunk. I like you, Jiho had slurred, eyes wide, heart too loud. The words felt like a release. Finally saying it, finally letting it out. And then there was Taehyun, calm, still, untouchable. He didn't flinch. He didn't smile. He didn't say anything that Jiho wanted to hear. Instead, I'm sorry, Taehyun said simply, voice steady. I can't. No explanation, no warmth, just the quiet rejection that burned Jiho from the inside out. The next morning, Jiho quit, packed up his things without a word, avoided the building for months, avoided the memory, avoided him, and now, Jiho walks the same halls he once fled, stepping carefully, heart hammering. He looks around, trying to convince himself it's different this time. The office is brighter, cleaner, quieter. A new routine, new rules, new faces. And yet, Taehyun sits at the head of the conference table, cold and perfect, like nothing ever happened. He doesn't say anything, but Jiho notices small things. The tilt of his head when reading documents, the slight narrowing of his eyes when someone speaks too loudly, the way he watches Jiho. Not like he's evaluating work, but like he's observing. Quietly, carefully. Jiho shivers. He shouldn't care. He shouldn't feel anything. And yet, every flicker of the air above Taehyun's head reminds him. He does. He hates that he does. But he can't stop thinking about that night. About Taehyun's rejection. About the way his heart had shattered. Piece by piece. In silence. Now, sitting across from him again, Jiho realizes something else. The past rejection wasn't the end. It was a pause. A delay. Because the man in front of him, Taehyun, still holds the same power over him he did 3 years ago. And maybe, just maybe, the love meter isn't the only thing breaking under the weight of that unspoken history. Jiho exhales shakily. He has to survive today. Survive this meeting. Survive this office. Because somewhere between the error and his racing heartbeat, he knows the past isn't done with them. And he's not ready to face it yet. Yet he also knows, he's already falling again. Unmeasurable, unstoppable, error. The word pulses in his mind like a warning, and Jiho swallows hard, bracing himself for whatever comes next. Jiho's chest tightens as he steps off the train. The familiar streets of his childhood neighborhood stretch out before him, and for the first time in weeks, he feels normal. His mom greets him at the door, warm and smiling. "Jiho, you're late." "I know, Mom. Sorry," he says, shrugging off his coat. Dinner smells like home, rice, soup, and the spicy stir-fry his mom always makes. His baby brother, little Minho, barrels into the kitchen, squealing. "Appa, Appa." Minho jumps onto Jiho, wrapping his arms around his waist. Jiho laughs and lifts him up effortlessly. At the dinner table, the chatter is easy, comforting. His mom peppers him with questions about work and life. Jiho answers, but some words stick in his throat. He thinks about the love meter, about Taehyun, about error. But here, it feels safe. After dinner, Jiho and Minho retreat to the living room with a small toy airplane, flying it around the room and laughing. Minho's giggles echo like music, and Jiho can't help smiling. Then Minho pauses, looking up at him with wide, innocent eyes. "Appa, what's wrong?" Jiho hesitates. He doesn't want to scare him, but he wants someone to understand. He sighs, picking at the hem of his sleeve. "What if you could see how everyone else feels, except the one person you really want?" Minho thinks for a moment, then grins. "Then you just keep trying. You can't see them, so you have to trust your heart. And if it's scary, that's okay. That's what makes it real." Jiho stares at him, heartwarming. His little brother is so small, but his words hit him right in the chest. Minho jumps up and throws his arms around Jiho. "Come here, Appa." Jiho hugs him tightly, feeling all the tension in his shoulders melt. Even if just for a moment. For once, he lets himself feel like a kid again. Like someone's looking out for him. Like home. When he pulls back, Minho grins. "You'll figure it out, Appa. I know you will." Jiho laughs softly, ruffling his brother's hair. "Thanks, Minho. I think I needed that." That night, as he heads back to his apartment, Jiho can't stop thinking about the warmth of home. And he knows one thing for sure. No matter what happens with work, with Taehyun, or with these strange numbers, he has a place to come back to. A place where he is loved. Jiho wakes to a quiet apartment. Sunlight filters through the blinds, but he doesn't see it. He doesn't check the numbers this morning. Not out of denial, out of fear. Because he knows they're real. The red error flashes in his memory, and his chest tightens. By the time he arrives at work, he's trembling just a little. A normal day shouldn't feel like this. Not with a simple glance at a spreadsheet or a casual greeting. But today, the love meter decides to speak. Jiho is at his desk, trying to focus. When it happens, a sharp, mechanical voice echoes. Not in the office, not aloud, only in his head. Subject Kang Taehyun exceeds measurable range. Jiho freezes. He blinks at the CEO across the glass wall. Taehyun sits perfectly still, reviewing a report. Expression unreadable. Error. The word pulses violently red above Taehyun's head. Jiho swallows hard. The voice came from the meter itself. From Taehyun. Only he can hear it. Exceeds measurable range. He tries to focus on his spreadsheets, his emails, anything else, but his fingers tremble as if an invisible current is pulling at him. Minutes pass. The meter pulses again. Voice sharper, louder in his mind. Subject Kang Taehyun exceeds measurable range. Attention required. Jiho freezes. Attention required. He should ignore it. Pretend it's nothing. Pretend he's sane. But curiosity wins. He walks closer to the glass wall, careful not to be obvious. The error pulses again. Red and jagged, almost like it's vibrating with intensity. For a moment, Jiho swears he sees faint numbers trying to appear beneath it. Scrambled, unsteady, impossible to read. And then the voice goes silent. Jiho's heart thunders in his chest. He can feel it. The love meter isn't broken. It's overwhelmed. By Taehyun. By him. By whatever this unmeasurable feeling is. The rest of the office continues unaware. Phones buzz. Printers whir. Chairs scrape across the floor. But Jiho stands frozen, staring at the one person whose number cannot exist. Taehyun looks up from his desk. Their eyes meet. Calm. Controlled. Unmoving. And yet, Jiho feels a warning in that gaze. Error. It pulses once more in his mind, loud enough only for him to hear. Almost like a heartbeat. Jiho swallows hard. He doesn't know what will happen next. He only knows one thing for certain. The system is telling him to pay attention, because when it comes to Kang Taehyun, Jiho is already too far in. Jiho hasn't stopped thinking about it all morning. The way the error flashes, the way the meter spoke only to him, the way Taehyun's gaze lingers longer than professional courtesy should allow. He should ignore it. Pretend it's nothing. Pretend he's just an assistant doing his job. But he can't. He finds himself standing outside Taehyun's office, heart hammering. He takes a deep breath and knocks. "Come in," Taehyun's calm voice answers. Jiho steps inside. The office feels impossibly small. The air thick. Taehyun looks up from the documents on his desk. Cool, composed, and readable. Jiho swallows. "Sir, can I ask you something?" Taehyun's eyebrow rises slightly. "Go ahead." Jiho hesitates. His mind races. How do you ask someone who rejected you years ago something that could ruin your composure entirely? Do you hate me? The words escape in a whisper. Almost ashamed. Almost scared. Taehyun's gaze flickers briefly. The tiniest quiver at the edge of his eyes. Then he tilts his head, still and readable. "No," he says flatly. Jiho's chest tightens. The air above Taehyun's head pulses violently. Red letters glitch, stretching, shaking, almost unreadable. Jiho flinches. It's louder this time. The flashing word feels like it's screaming in his mind. Error, error, error. Jiho begins, struggling to steady his voice. The meter, it shows nothing for you. And I thought maybe you hate me." Taehyun leans back slightly, calm, yet the air between them feels taut. His hands fold neatly on the desk. "I didn't hate you," he says slowly. I couldn't let myself care. Not then, not when it would have ruined both of us." Jiho swallows hard. His throat is dry. The air pulses again, faster, more violent. The letters stretch, flicker, and momentarily the word seems to collapse into a blur of red. Jiho's hands shake. "But, the meter, it's broken. Or maybe it's just you. But Taehyun stands suddenly. The motion is smooth, controlled. He walks around the desk, stopping just in front of Jiho. The air pulses one final time. Violently red, almost unbearable. And then, it glitches into almost a glimpse of numbers. 100%. For one heartbeat. Then it vanishes back into error. Jiho's stomach drops. Taehyun looks down at him. Calm again, unreadable. But now there's a hint of something dangerous. Something that says he's not done. Jiho swallows, tries to steady his racing heart. I don't know what that means," Jiho admits. Jiho doesn't plan to say it. He really doesn't, but the words spill out before he can stop them. "I woke up one morning and started seeing numbers above people's heads." Silence fills the office. Taehyun's expression doesn't change. Jiho's heart pounds so hard it feels painful. "They show how much someone likes me," Jiho continues, forcing himself to keep going. Romantically, Taehyun watches him carefully now. Not judgmental, not mocking, just focused. Jiho swallows. "Everyone has one, my friend. The intern. Even strangers on the train." His hands tremble at his sides. "But yours doesn't." A small crease forms between Taehyun's brows. "What do you mean?" he asks quietly. Jiho exhales shakily. "Yours says error." The word pulses violently in Jiho's vision right then. Error. Red. Flickering. Loud in his mind. "It doesn't show zero," Jiho rushes out. "It doesn't show anything. It just glitches, like it can't calculate you." The office is so quiet Jiho can hear his own breathing. He expects Taehyun to laugh, or look concerned, or call someone. Instead, Taehyun steps closer. Slow, measured. "And this worries you?" Taehyun asks. Jiho looks up at him, eyes slightly glassy. "Yes." It comes out smaller than he meant. "Because if it showed zero, at least I'd know." His voice cracks. "But this feels worse. It feels like something is there, and I just can't see it." The error flashes again. Violent, unstable. For a split second, the red letters distort, almost forming numbers beneath. Almost. Taehyun's jaw tightens slightly. He studies Jiho's face like he's trying to understand something deeper than the words. "I don't see numbers," Taehyun says calmly, "but I do see you." Jiho's breath catches. "And you've been watching me," Taehyun continues, "avoiding me, shaking whenever I get too close." Another step forward, close enough that Jiho can feel the warmth of him. "If there were a number," Taehyun says quietly, "would it change anything?" Jiho doesn't answer, because the truth is, yes, it would. The air pulses again. Louder, brighter, as if protesting. Taehyun lifts a hand slightly, hesitates, then gently grips Jiho's wrist. The contact sends a shock through him. For one heartbeat, the red word disappears, and Jiho sees it. Clear, blinding, 100%. Then it snaps back to error. Jiho inhales sharply. Taehyun frowns slightly at the reaction. But Jiho can't speak, because now he knows. The meter isn't broken, it's overflowing, and Taehyun still has no idea. Jiho thought a little break from the office would clear his head. A cafe downtown, sunlight streaming through the windows, the aroma of coffee and pastries soothing his nerves. He sat across from someone he barely knew. A blind date set up by a well-meaning coworker. He tried to focus on the small talk, hobbies, favorite movies, the occasional joke, but every laugh, every smile felt hollow. His thoughts kept wandering. He glanced up and froze. Across the cafe, near the counter, a familiar figure stood, ordering a drink. Kang Taehyun. The moment Jiho's eyes met his, the world seemed to tilt. And then, the meter reacted. Numbers appeared above the other patrons' heads, floating normally, measurable. 34%, 21%, 47%. Jiho's blind date noticed him staring. Are you okay? Jiho blinked. Yeah, just thinking. But his attention was elsewhere. Above Taehyun's head, a single word flashed. Error. And this time, it wasn't subtle. It pulsed violently red, like a warning siren. Jiho's stomach dropped. He felt it in his chest. The unmeasurable, the uncontrollable, the number that shouldn't exist. His blind date coughed nervously. Are you sure you're okay? Jiho stammered, words failing him. Yeah, I just forgot something. Taehyun looked over. Calm, perfect, in control. But even his presence here, casual, almost accidental, sent Jiho's heart into overdrive. The air pulsed faster, louder, impossible to ignore. Jiho's mind spun. How was this allowed? He had no reason to see Taehyun outside work, and yet here he was, standing in his line of sight, unmeasurable and untouchable. He excused himself abruptly, leaving a confused but polite, "Sorry, I have to go," to the blind date. Outside, Jiho leaned against the wall, trying to steady his racing heart. He could still hear it, the faint pulsing in his mind, the meter warning him, error, error, error. And then Taehyun appeared beside him, calm, controlled, hands in his coat pockets. Jiho, he said softly, everything all right? Jiho looked at him, chest tightening, unable to form words. The error flashed one last time, violently red, then faded. Jiho knew one thing. He wasn't in control. Not of the numbers, not of the feelings, not of Taehyun. And the closer he tried to get away, the more unstable everything became. Because some things, some people, simply can't be measured. Jiho's hands fidgeted with the strap of his bag as he approached the office. He had spent the whole weekend rehearsing excuses in his head. I'm busy. I have errands. I just don't feel like talking. Anything to keep distance from Kang Taehyun. Because after the cafe incident, he couldn't handle another error surge. He couldn't handle the way his heart thudded when Taehyun was near. He had to hide, and he thought he could. At his desk, Jiho avoided eye contact. He buried himself in spreadsheets, reports, and emails. Every time Taehyun passed, he lowered his gaze or pretended to be absorbed in his screen. But it didn't go unnoticed. Taehyun paused mid-step one afternoon, leaning casually against the edge of Jiho's desk. His eyes, sharp and deliberate, scanned Jiho like he could see through his walls. You've been avoiding me, Taehyun said quietly, calm, yet undeniably aware. Jiho's chest tightened. He fumbled with a folder. I'm just focused on work, he murmured. Taehyun raised an eyebrow. Focused, or avoiding? Jiho didn't answer. He only felt his heartbeat racing, faster than ever. The air above Taehyun's head pulsed faintly red in Jiho's vision. Not violent, but enough to remind him that the meter was still alive, still reacting, still warning. Taehyun stepped closer, his presence quiet but impossible to ignore. Jiho, he said softly, you know you don't have to pretend with me. Whatever it is, we can. Jiho's fingers clenched the folder. He couldn't. Not here, not now. It's nothing, he whispered, forcing a tight-lipped smile. Taehyun didn't push. He simply tilted his head, calm, and let Jiho retreat into his work. But the way he watched, it was as if he already knew. Jiho tried to keep his distance for the rest of the day. He avoided lunch breaks with Taehyun. He took slightly longer routes to meetings. He even pretended to be busy when Taehyun called his name. But every glance from him, every quiet step, made Jiho's chest tighten further. Because Taehyun didn't just notice the avoidance. He felt it. And Jiho knew, deep down, that no amount of pretending could hide how unstable everything had become. Even the meter couldn't calculate what was happening now. Error. Jiho buried his face in his hands, wishing for one quiet moment, one moment to feel normal. And for the first time, he realized, running wasn't an option. Not from the numbers, not from the feelings, not from Taehyun. Because some things simply wouldn't let go. Jiho's chest tightens the moment he steps into the elevator. He's been trying to keep his distance, trying to act normal. But being trapped in a small metal box with Kang Taehyun leaves him exposed, vulnerable. The hum of the elevator is comforting at first, but then it stutters. The lights flicker. Jiho freezes. Taehyun, Taehyun, his voice is shaky. The elevator jerks and stops. Darkness swallows the space. Only a faint emergency light glows, casting shadows across Taehyun's face. Jiho's heart hammers. Panic claws at his chest. I'm scared. Taehyun moves closer, calm and steady, placing a hand lightly on Jiho's shoulder. It's okay, he says softly, voice warm. I've got you. The contact sends a jolt through Jiho, close enough that he can feel the heat radiating from Taehyun, close enough that his entire body betrays him. The confined space amplifies everything. Every breath, every heartbeat, every subtle shift of movement. Jiho swallows hard, trying not to let his nerves show. Taehyun tilts his head, eyes soft but intense. You don't need to be afraid. I'm right here. Jiho's throat tightens. He wants to say something, but the words stick. His hands tremble slightly, and he can't stop glancing at Taehyun. Every inch of his presence feels magnetic, overpowering. For a long moment, they just stand there, the flickering light, the hum of the powerless elevator, and their proximity create a tension that's almost unbearable. Then, Taehyun exhales slowly. Jiho, he begins, voice low and deliberate. About 3 years ago. Jiho freezes. I rejected you, Taehyun continues, hands still resting lightly on Jiho's shoulder. Not because I didn't care, because I already loved you, and I was afraid it would ruin everything. US, professionally, personally. Jiho blinks, breath catching. You loved me. Taehyun nods. I never stopped. Not for a single day. The air between them is electric. Every small movement, his hand, his breath, the slight tilt of his head, feels magnified. Jiho's heart pounds. Then the meter reacts. Above Taehyun's head, Jiho sees it clearly for the first time. 100%. The word pulses, bright and steady. Then, vanishes. Forever. Jiho swallows hard, eyes wide. So, the error was just us. Taehyun tilts his head, lips curving faintly. Exactly. The confined space forces them closer. Jiho can feel the warmth of Taehyun's body, the subtle tension in the air. It's magnetic, unavoidable, and utterly consuming. Jiho, Taehyun murmurs, voice low, intense. You've been too close to the truth all along. Jiho can't respond. The electricity, the fear, the closeness, it's overwhelming. He only knows one thing for certain. He belongs here, with Taehyun. The numbers are gone. The system is gone. But the feelings, the attraction, the closeness, the unmeasurable pull, they're still very, very real. And in the darkness of the elevator, Jiho leans slightly toward him. Taehyun doesn't move. Instead, he tilts his head, brushes a stray lock of hair from Jiho's face, and says softly, I've been waiting for this moment, Jiho. Jiho's heart explodes in his chest. The system is gone, but what remains? Pure, unmeasurable, undeniable love. Jiho wakes up. Sunlight spills into the room, soft and golden. For the first time in weeks, he feels calm. The percentages are gone. No more floating numbers above people's heads. No more guidance. No more reassurance. Just the quiet morning and the steady rhythm of real life. He glances across the breakfast table. Taehyun sits there, reading a document, hair slightly tousled from sleep, expression calm but soft. Jiho swallows. The old familiar panic flares briefly in his chest. What if he can't measure this? What if he misreads it again? Then he notices Taehyun looking at him. Morning, Jiho murmurs, voice slightly shaky. No number today, he asks, trying to sound casual. Taehyun tilts his head, smile teasing but warm. He reaches across the table, hand brushing Jiho's. You don't need one, he says softly. Jiho's chest tightens. The weight of uncertainty, of unanswered questions, of all the errors and glitched percentages, it melts away in an instant. For the first time, he realizes he doesn't need proof. He doesn't need calculations, charts, or numbers. He has this moment. He has Taehyun. He chooses, without hesitation, without doubt, without a meter to tell him it's right. He leans closer, allowing himself to feel the warmth of Taehyun's hand, the steady pull of presence that has haunted him, challenged him, and finally comforted him. I think I understand now, Jiho admits quietly. Taehyun's lips curve into the faintest smile. Good, he murmurs, because love isn't something you measure. It's something you feel. Jiho laughs softly, the sound light and free. He reaches across the table and takes Taehyun's hand fully, intertwining their fingers. No numbers, no system, no errors, just them. And for the first time, Jiho knows he's exactly where he belongs, choosing love, without proof, and it feels perfect.